that we spoke about earlier. This is fasad. The corruption of money that we spoke about earlier. This is fasad. The corruption of the status and role of women in society that we spoke about earlier. This is fasad. The corruption of food that you consume. This is fasad. These are his basic weapons. Money, food, woman, that we spoke about at the beginning, through which he seeks to establish his universal permanent dictatorship over all of mankind. What do we do when we recognize this shirk all around us? The answer is that if you abandon the sunnah, for example, the sunnah money, dinar which is in the Quran, dirham which is in the Quran, if you abandon the sunnah and you are reminded about it, then if you have even a grain of a mustard seed of faith in your heart, you must now struggle to restore the sunnah, regardless of the price that you may have to pay. How do we restore the sunnah? How do we restore the khilafah? Hizb ut-Tahrir say the same thing that I say about restoring the khilafah. The difference is that Hizb ut-Tahrir, that revolutionary Islamic movement that is around the world today, Hizb ut-Tahrir, and I respect them. Oh yes, I do. I respect these brothers. Hizb ut-Tahrir does not recognize the reality of the modern age. If it did, it would recognize that the barrier built by Zulqarnain has come down. If it did, it would recognize that Gog and Magog have been released into the world. If it did, it would recognize that the world order today which controls the world is the world order of Gog and Magog. If it did, he'll recognize that you cannot defeat that evil storm. Don't stand up before that evil storm to do a boxing match with it. You'll be swept away. The strategy is that you must step aside. That strategy did not come from my imagination, that you should hold me with suspicion. That strategy came out of Surah Al-Kahf of the Quran. The one surah of the Quran which is linked with Dajjal. Ordinary thinkers will say wrong. We don't agree with that. But the commanding thinker, the thinker who operates at the strategic level of thought, the Khidr amongst us, would recognize that this is the age for withdrawal from the cities. The monstrous mega cities that are now drowning in corruption and filth and godlessness and decadence and vulgarity. You must withdraw. When they are moving in this direction, we must move in the opposite direction. The cities look like heaven. And there are parts of the world where the modern Western world controls which look like heaven. But the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, that what looks like heaven would be hell. And what looks like hell would be heaven. So we withdraw from the center and we move to the periphery. The time will come when a man, in order to preserve his faith, would have to flee to the mountainsides where rain falls and take with him some sheep and goats. Today the rain fell, didn't it? To remind us of that hadith. Thank you, Allah, for the rain. Sheep and goats for sustenance. Sheep and goat for pure milk, not milk contaminated with hormone treatment. sheep and goats for pure meat. And where you have dairy farming, you have your capacity to survive. Where the rain falls, he said, because if you have rain, if you have water, you can plant and food crops. But be careful of genetically modified seed. The only one in Africa that seems to understand the danger of genetically modified seed is a man named Robert Mugabe. Yes. And maybe, if there's a second, it must be Winnie Mandela. Not Nelson, Winnie Mandela. So they retreat to the villages, to the remote countryside. It's for survival. You cannot defeat that storm. No. And we will spend a little time, inshallah, on the Muslim village. But even while you're retreating from the country to the countryside, you are not turning away from jihad. No. In order for you to liberate the Holy Land, you have to produce lions. Lions. Your little boy must grow up with a backbone made of steel. If you can do that in downtown Manhattan, go ahead. I'm not stopping you. But I say it is more likely that you can succeed in building your little son to have a backbone made of steel if you have him grow up in a Muslim village, protected from all the hostile and alien influences of modern television, for example, and modern secular education, etc. The Muslim village will produce those who will liberate the Holy Land. This is not running away from jihad. You're not going to do it. It's your children who are going to do it, and your grandchildren, because Israel has not as yet become the ruling state in the world. And Dajjal will have to rule the world for a day which is like a week before he emerges to declare that I am the Messiah. And only then will Imam al-Mahdi emerge. And only then will Nabi Isa alayhi salam return. And only then will we have the fulfillment of the prophecy, لَتُقَاتِلُنَّ الْيَهُودِ. You most certainly fight the Jews. وَلَتَقْتُلُنَّهُمْ, you most certainly kill them. حَتَّى يَقُولُ الْحَجْرَ, at that time even the stones will speak. Ya Muslim, هَذَا يَهُودِيٌّ وَرَائِي فَتَعَالَ فَقْتُلْ. There's a Jew hiding behind me, so come and kill him. That's the end of the day. And we still have some time. So we have to take our children and give them the conditions, give them the fertile soil that they can grow up into those who will liberate Palestine tomorrow. So this is not running away from jihad. We don't need a declaration of jihad to defend ourselves against oppression. Once you are attacked, you must retaliate. You must defend yourself. When they stop the oppression, we will stop our fighting. But that oppression is escalating every day. And so the struggle to liberate the Holy Land has already commenced. The army from Khorasan is already marching. And we should not be foolish enough as to seek to distinguish between this sect and that sect. This one is Deobandi, and that one is Barelvi, and that one is Ahle Hadith, and that one is this and that and the other. No! All those who join together in the struggle in Allah's name to respond to the oppressor, to liberate the oppressed, we are all brothers with each other. And when you join that army, you do not announce it on the front page of the New York Times that I'm going to Afghanistan. Your enemies don't do that. Why should you? If you go and you spend a month or a year on the battlefield and you come back as quietly as you went, when you come back, you're probably even more important to us. Because then you will go